So we're going to continue rational expressions, looking at adding and subtracting. So again, we're going to relate this to what we know about fractions. And what we know about fractions is we have to have a common denominator. So our denominators have to be equal numbers. And when you're thinking about fractions, the way we know how to do this is we say, okay, 5 and 3, if you listed out their multiples, that's basically what we're looking for, is where do I find their least common multiple. So for 5, we see, 15 is the first time that they both have the same multiple. So one thing we can do to get least common denominators automatically is just multiply each denominator by the other. Multiply 3 by 5, multiply by 5 by 3. When we do that, we have to remember multiplying in the numerator as well. So this is just review of what you already know about fractions. 3/15 is what the first fraction becomes. 10/15. Now you remember with adding, subtracting fractions, you keep the denominator and do the operation you see in the numerator. So -7/15. We're going to do the similar operation when we do rational expressions. So if we look at this rational expression, you see x plus 4 is a factor. So the entire thing is the factor, and x plus 5 is the factor. So when we say, what are we going to multiply to get these to be common denominators, our least common denominator is going to have x plus 4 as a factor, because we see that in the first fraction, and it's going to have x plus 5 as a factor. Each factor that appears in any denominator has to be part of the least common denominator. So we need to multiply our first fraction by x plus 5, and that would be on the numerator and the denominator. And in our second fraction, we need to multiply by x plus 4, because that's the factor that we're missing for our least common denominator. Once we get to that point, so we say x plus 5, x plus 4 is now our least common denominator, rewrite our fractions, x plus 5, x plus 4. And then if we look at our numerators, in order to be able to combine those numerators, we're going to have to use the distributive property or FOIL, whatever the case may be for that numerator. So 3x plus 15 is our first numerator for x plus 16. And then we follow those same steps we did for our fractions. We keep our denominator, x plus 5, x plus 4, and I told you for the denominators, you don't have to worry about foiling it out. You can leave it as factored form. But then we do our operation we see in the numerator. So combine like terms to simplify the numerator. So 3x and 4x gives us 7x. 15 and 16 gives us 31. So our final answer, 7x plus 31 divided by x plus 5, x plus 4. So if we look at one more example here, at times it might look like, okay, we have a factor of x minus 6, we have a factor of 2x minus 12. The information I gave you on multiplying and dividing fractions is going to apply here the same way. First step is always to factor. I know I asked that question about 4 times on Friday, but what's the first thing we need to do? We need to factor. So 2x minus 12 becomes 2 if I take the GCF out, x minus 6. Most of the factoring you're going to be doing will be fairly straightforward, either GCF or simple quadratics. But if we factor that, we see, okay, our factors on the fraction on the right are 2 and x minus 6. Our factor in the fraction on the left is just x minus 6. In order to get our least common denominator, 2 has to be in our least common denominator, and x minus 6 appears in both fractions already, so we already have that common piece in both. The only thing that's missing to make these common denominators is to multiply the fraction on the left by that 2. That'll make it so that each factor appears once. So if we multiply this out, we have 4x, because 2 times 2x is 4x, and 2 parentheses x minus 6 plus 5x over, and then 2 parentheses x minus 6, because we didn't need to change anything. We already had the least common denominator there. 5x and 4x together give me 9x. And 2 parentheses x minus 6 left. Keep the denominator. Combine your like terms in the numerator. Keep your denominator. I'm going to give one more example here, and then I'm going to give you one to try that we'll talk about on Monday. But again, first thing we need to do is factor. So what we see that we can factor, we see x squared minus 25, and that factored as a difference of squares, so x plus 5, x minus 5. So if you notice in your denominators, x minus 5 appears in both. X plus 5 is an extra factor that appears in the left fraction here. So the least common denominator would have to be x minus 5 appears in both, and then we need to have x plus 5 in both as well. So we need to multiply this fraction on the right side by x plus 5 in order to get that common denominator. So the first fraction didn't change, 4x minus 3 over x minus 5, x plus 5, because they already had both of our factors in our least common denominator. And then we're going to subtract away. And if you notice, we have a binomial in the numerator times a binomial. So we need to be thinking FOIL. The only time you're going to have to FOIL or multiply things out is when we're talking about numerator, because we're going to be combining like terms. So if I FOIL this, it becomes 2x squared plus 10x minus 4x would be plus 6x, and then minus 20 minus 4 times 5 minus 20. And we have our common denominators. All we need to do from here is keep our denominator, x minus 5 and x plus 5, and then combine like terms. If you remember, I cautioned you, be careful about the subtraction. We want to distribute that minus sign into the entire second numerator here. So we want to say 4x minus 3 stays the same, and then we're going to distribute that minus sign. So 2x squared was positive, now it's negative. 6x was positive, now it's negative. 20 was negative, now it's positive. So we're going to take that minus sign and distribute it in. Like terms, well, 2x squared doesn't have any like terms to go with. 4x minus 6x is negative 2x, and negative 3 plus 20 would be positive 17. And our denominator, don't forget to write your denominator as you go along. So factor, find your least common denominator, multiply where necessary, and combine your like terms. I'm going to leave this one for you to complete. Remember to factor first, figure out your least common denominator, and multiply by anything your denominator is missing. We'll go over this first on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend.